David, I know I mentioned to you a number of times during the offseason, my thought on Florida football was that it was one of the biggest wild cards in the nation for me. And you just mentioned another one for me was LSU during the season, where I thought, okay, because of the talent on the roster and because of what we've seen before out of these programs and these coaching staffs and this particular head coach, sure, they could bust out and be back to where we expect those programs to be, or they could fall back and be an ugly kind of 7-5, 6-6 kind of season. Florida's jumped back and forth so many times with me, where I was projecting an 8-4 team. Then, of course, they played the couple cupcakes out of the gate. They show us a lot against Alabama and got a lot of people thinking, oh, Georgia, Florida might be a really good game. And now they've faltered here. Do Florida fans look at this situation with trying to catch up with Georgia? Now, Georgia, for the past 4 to 5 years, since Kirby Smart's second season, has been near the elite of college football. We've seen that in isolated spots under Mark Richt, but Florida's the one with the national championships. You don't have to be that old. As long as you're in your 20s, you remember Florida winning national championships. Georgia, none. 1980. We've got 3 with Florida in the last 25 to 30 years. Okay. Does this dynamic bother Florida fans that we're supposed to be there? They've been generally where we've been over the course of, most of our fan base's lifetime. And we've been contending and winning national championships. When are we going to get back there?
Yeah, Mark. I mean, that's why Dan Mullen was brought. When he was brought here in 2018, it was, okay, how long is it going to take to close the gap to Georgia? I mean, you knew when Dan Mullen was hired, there was a gap. There was no question there was a gap. All right, so when Dan Mullen, who coaches Mississippi State, he coaches them up. They're very competitive in the SEC West. All he needs is more talent. I mean, pretty much that's what the summary was, right? All he needs was more talent. Well, he had some Jim McElwain leftover talent that he won 10 games with and 11 games with and finally won the SEC East with in his third year. So he's got his players now, his recruited players, his quarterback that he signed in 2018. This is his 4th season. This is his team in his image. And they've faltered, like you said, to a 4-3 record right now. And look, there's different things you can point to. There's metrics out there that says Florida's a top 10 team, the S&P and all that thing. Florida, with the way their metrics, no, don't get me wrong, eye test and actual results matter 10 times more, of course. It doesn't matter what all those metrics say, but they say with the way Florida has played this year, they have played like a top 10 team. They just come out on the losing end of games. So, razor thin margin. Todd Grantham talked about it last night there with us. You look at different points. And Mark, that's probably the most disappointing part. There were things you were able to point to in Dan Mullen's tenure that would be the difference. Okay, maybe the talent's not quite on the Alabama, Georgia level, but there are things you could point to where that would make up the gap. Well, it's those things this year that are faltering Florida. Does Florida recruit as well as Alabama and Georgia? No. So the other aspects have to be up there. The game management, the clock management, personnel decisions, how you act in the fourth quarter in close game situations to come out on top. Florida's not getting those small things done. The lack of attention to detail, special teams, turnovers. The things you've always been able to count on under Dan Mullen. Yeah, we knew there was a talent gap. We knew they were replacing a whole bunch of NFL talent from last year, but that's not the reason Florida's 4-3 right now. It's one of the reasons, and a lot of people thought that would be the top reason, but it's probably 5th or 6th down on the list compared to all the other aspects that I sit here and just listed that you thought you'd be able to count on to close that gap versus Georgia, and you're not getting that from Dan Mullen and his team in his 4th year.
We knew where the obvious hot seats were from a coaching standpoint when the season started, and 2 of them have come through, LSU and USC. Shoot, we saw it. Matt Wells at Texas Tech had fired the other day. He's 5-3, just lost a 1-point game. He was that close to being 6-2 at Texas Tech. Yeah. So some of them come as a surprise. Guys 8-14 coming into the season. He goes 5-2, loses a 1-point game and gets fired. Dan Mullen and his job security, where do you think that stands?
nothing's going to happen in 2021 unless he wants it to. You go by the first couple years and winning the SEC East last year. Now, don't get me wrong. He has to make changes. He has to be able to adapt. He has to look in the mirror, and it can't trend the way it's looking right now. You cannot bring back Todd Grantham. You have to make some decisions on other members of the coaching staff to help. Recruiting's got to get better. We know that. That starts with assistant coaches. Can Mullen break away from guys he's been around for so long, as like offensive line coach John Hevesy and running back coach Greg Knox? Billy Gonzalez, wide receiver coach, has been around for forever around Dan Mullen. He's one of the best recruiters on staff at the wide receiver position, one of the best developers on staff. You've got the perfect package in Billy Gonzalez, but you don't have it everywhere else. So, of course, it starts a defensive coordinator. When that comes, you'll probably have a bunch of defensive assistants as well. You've got to make a change at defensive coordinator. Now, a lot of Gator fans, if Dan Mullen's not willing to make that change, a lot of Gator fans will say goodbye, Dan Mullen, because you're not winning with what you have on staff right now. That change will be made, Mark. I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. You cannot move forward in that regard. And then you look, if we want to fast forward a little bit, Florida's best chance to do anything in 2022 is with Dan Mullen leading the charge. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If Anthony Richardson's your quarterback, you identify that the rest of the season, you develop him getting ready for next year, and if he lives up to the potential a lot of us think he has, Florida's got a special quarterback next year. So that's why a lot of people wanted to see a defensive coordinator move last year. You use this year as kind of that transition class, and you build up to 2022. Now you're kind of chasing your tail on defense. You may have the offense next year, but much like 2020, it could be a special offense, and now a defense that's under a first-year defensive coordinator with the transition time. Now, I think you could have your pick of pretty good defensive coordinators to come in and say, okay, that's a pretty good situation. We know that offense is going to be good. That head coach might be on the hot seat a little bit, but if I can go in there and change that defense, there's some big things that can happen for Florida in 2022. So, it stinks. We're sitting here Florida, Georgia week and already looking forward to 2022, but that's just kind of the reality of it right now. That conversation's been had. Where's Dan Mullen at, and where the program's headed, and the direction is all about him making change. And if he won't make the change, then a lot of fans want somebody that will.
Folks, please like the video, share these videos out on social media. Also, keep in mind that you can shop Amazon by using the link that we provide in the description section. Same shopping experience for you. Doesn't cost you a penny, but it helps us grow the channel. Follow David at Gators Breakdown right here on YouTube and also on your favorite audio platform. David, we always appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully you can enjoy the game Saturday.
I'll do my best, Mark. Thanks, man.